Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
And again, we're talking about the challenges and um,
Writing of,
the differences in actually collaborating together and kind of the as the story is progressing. Uh, so we kind of it's interesting because we get into this thing of, well, one of us does more sometimes and the other does more the other time, and so neither one of us wants to feel like we're dropping the ball or stepping on the other's toes or
exactly.
So and of course it's always for the sake of the story, not I think we're starting to hit a very comfortable
Yes.
spot. I think we started out, it was like, oh, okay. It's like kind of driving an old car. It's like, oh.
Chugging along.
Right. But now we're kind of hitting our pace, and
right, and we're really finding out between each other. You write short stories, and I write the novels, and I'm really noticing your short story I don't know what the right words are. Your short story and why you write short stories, because you like to get to the point right now, and I like to embellish.
Right. And I don't have the issue one about you going back and stretching out, what I've written.
Good.
And it's like decompressing the slinky. It's like,
yeah.
it's like let's stretch it out a little bit more.
Yes, let's stretch out this slinky and see if we can't fill in some holes and
right,
and make it a little more, I don't know, not interesting, but make it a little more, I don't know, so you feel the story, or that you
a little more intricate.
Yeah, that's the word, intricate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a writer and I can't think of words. What would that mean? But yeah, and then I feel like I kind of step on your toes every once in a while because I want to go back and do that.
Oh no, not at all, not at all. Because
but I love your ideas, so I can take your ideas and I can embellish them.
Right. And like I have the one guy being very gruff and everything else, but he ends up kind of being the ally. And then I got this other peripheral character that kind of, I like to draw in to become, he's kind of the traitor, or kind of unrequited love and that kind of thing.
No, I think that's a good place to go with it, maybe, and
And I was trying to think of it. The whole scene that we've written is kind of a circus scene, without giving away too much of the story. And I had to. There's a princess who's been kidnapped and forced into this life, but then there's a prince in there that was betrothed to her sister. So why is he there? He's obviously not been kidnapped.
Yeah, why is he there? And he seems to have the whole the trapeze part is what they're doing. He seems to know all of it and knows how to do it and how to coach her into being on a trapeze when she's never been there before.
Right.
And that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it's obvious that he's a little experienced with all of this.
Mm-hmm. And I like that she has to trust him.
Yes.
So all of a sudden there's almost a forced chemistry there where it's like, okay, so it adds a layer of complexity there that's kind of nice.
Right, it does, and then you can take that layer and broaden it out. But I also noticed in some of it, and the parts that I write, you wouldn't have ingrained in your head. You could read it and do that.
Right.
But I had dressed him out to match her costume, and then I'm reading through, and you dressed him in a different thing. So it's kind of it's a check on each other. So we have to decide if costumes are gonna match or if he's gonna be different.
Right.
And which is fine. I don't care which way we go. But I was catching that. Well, that was the only one I caught.
Right.
But kind of stuff.
Well, and that's the kind of the I guess the bugbear that we run into with collaboration. Right. Because I've got an image in my head of what how things are looking and how and everything, and then let's say for the sake of continuity, then I need to go back. I should have gone back and read. I just like hit the prompt and went.
Yeah, that's right. But that's what you do with your your short stories, you hit that prompt and you did it, and it's out and gone.
Right.
I always go back and I read what I wrote the day before, and I'll go back and read 3 days before,
Right.
and that's why it takes me so long to write a novel. But I go back and I add this little filter, this little innuendo, this little, and I build.
Add a little foreshadowing.
Yeah, exactly. Little foreplay, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So I have the details of the story, but I wrote in there that their costumes matched, and so she would take notice of him right away.
Right.
Why? So either he changed
Mm-hmm.
before the show, or we need to match him back up.
Okay, we'll match you back.
I
That's
don't
no
care.
problem. Just go
Yeah.
through and edit what I've written as. That's
Yeah.
fine. I don't care. So.
But you know, we
And that's the
keep
thing.
the continuity.
Well, and that's the thing too. I think as writers, we tend to look at our creations as being our babies, and we tend to be very protective of our children, and then
To have to share.
right, but and so it's a real lesson and of course when you're editing your own work or you're editing someone else's work, you can't be attached
Right.
to it,
Right.
You have to, it's a completely different hat, and so. Collaborating and going back and you're editing some of my work, I'm editing some of your work, and we're all for the sake of continuity, all for the sake of the story.
Right.
And so it's a real lesson in as an author and as a creative mind to not be so attached to what you've written and what you've created.
Right.
But what's really interesting, I think, too, we're talking about, and we touched on it before, that I am primarily a short story. I can do novella or I can do a novelette, very much longer, like basically even barely keeping within the parameters of a short story. But I'm primarily a short storyist.
Yeah.
And whereas I think you've written some flash fiction and some shorter pieces, but you're primarily a novelist.
Right. I am, and
so,
I like the novel.
Yeah, and I think that our two strengths in that regard work well together. They complement each other.
I agree. I can go back into your dump, or not dump. That's a bad word. But
No, it's
fine.
true.
No,
No, it is. It's true.
But go back into it, and I can pull it apart and add the fluff.
Right. Well,
and
Extrapolate on it.
and extrapolate the.
right. Just go ahead and expand
Uh-huh.
things, and like I said, decompressing the slinky. Just
Right.
I got the slinky this big,
Right.
and you can stretch it and without adding needless whatever it is.
But I think that if you and I had been on the same page from the beginning, a novelist,
right.
short story, I don't think we could have collaborated quite as well, because then we would have kind of butted heads. I
Right. It
think.
becomes more of, well, I've got these plot points and this length, and no, I've got these plot points and this length in mind, and so it becomes a little, and we would probably
Territorial, maybe.
Yeah, but I think we'd be able to navigate that okay. But I think this is a much
Yes,
easier
way to.
relationship as far
Uh-huh.
as this goes, because we're both very different types of writers.
Right,
on that.
exactly. And I'm not sure that I could go back and actually be beneficial in writing a short story
Mhm.
with you.
Right. Yeah, I think we could. It's just, but because the short story is so compressed
Uh-huh.
that
I have a hard time with that.
right,
And would be, I could learn, I guess. It'd be a real learning experience to get right to the point
Right.
instead of working my way to the point.
well, the short story is interesting in the way that they depend on the reader's imagination.
Uh-huh.
You paint in broad strokes,
Yeah,
and there is a certain level of character development. It's not as elaborate as say
Uh-huh.
like in a novel, and you don't have plot, subplot, and all these sidelights that
right.
go along.
Rabbit holes to go.
Yeah, you've got basically
Yeah,
a story from A to Z, and it's and say from a novel point, it crunches it down to its essential parts. A short story is finished when you can't add or subtract anything from it.
yeah.
So
so our strength, I think, at this point in time is to not write short stories together, maybe later,
Right.
but keep going with this
Mhm.
novel length. And it's not going to be a whole, I don't know if it's called a novel, if it's 50 pages,
Might
100
be
pages.
might
maybe.
become like a novelette or
Novelette.
or a small novel.
Yeah.
But want to take this opportunity to wish everybody a happy 4th.
Yes, happy 4th of July.
Yes, we are not going to be doing our podcast next week. In honor of the 4th, we're gonna all be doing our own thing with our families, and but I look forward to what you come up with. You know, was available through email, so
Okay.
we'll still keep going
Well,
back and forth. And
Yeah, and I think we're, you wrote a couple little ideas down at the bottom of of the page.
yeah,
Send it to me, and I think I'm going to, start expanding on those.
okay,
Or
all right.
at least one, I start do one of the episode, or one of the next chapter will be developing one of those characters.
All right, cool. I'm
And see
looking
if
forward
we-
to it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, this
'Cause
stuff
I
has really become fun.
And it has, it's like putting a puzzle together.
Yeah.
Uh-huh, it is, so, see where it goes.
All right, all right.
Have a good week, have a good 2 weeks, everyone.
Have a safe and happy 4th.